Technology companies themselves are transforming. Take, for instance, Facebook. It's now Meta, delving into the metaverse. When you take a look at the future of HCL Technologies, where would you like to lead it to in the next 5 to 7 years?
So I think, we've got a couple of 5 strategic objectives. The first one being we are an IT services group and we cover digital engineering, cloud, as well as software. So we want to be able to lead with differentiated products and services. We want to be able to be a preferred digital partner for Global 2000 companies in preferred geographies. I think weaving ESG into a lot of the business strategy is absolutely critical for us. HCL Technologies hires 225,000 people across the world, and the average age is 27 and below. So I think today, the strategic priority for a company has to be a preferred employer. And then lastly, I think if we're able to meet these strategic objectives, then delivering the highest shareholder return in medium to term should be the ultimate strategic direction.
There's so much uncertainty. Yeah. There's so much disruption. Yeah. What's your strategy to stay relevant?
So I think, like I said, I think one part of it is technology.
But what's the growth strategy?
I think the growth strategy is investing in our people and investing in skills. Like I said, we've got 225,000 people all over the world. Technology is moving a lot faster than the skills can keep up. We do about 2 million to 3 million hours of training a quarter, and that is only going to grow. We also have to find non-linear ways of growth. So if you look at our software portfolio, which is quite unique to HCL Technologies, it's about 2 billion of our 12 billion revenue. It's much more non-linear. So while the balance 10 billion would have more than 150,000 people working on it, our 2 billion in software will have about 5,000.
You talk about being a $12 billion company. How do you take it to 30? How do you take it to 50? When can you get there?
I don't know when we are going to get there. I think I can only talk about our strategic vision in the next 5 to 7 years. But the investment that we made in HCL software, which is a 2 billion that we get from 5,000 engineers, is a non-linear growth. And I think that as we go forward, we are going to want to grow that business as well.
Indian IT executives lament that there is a gap between engineering education and what the industries actually need. How do you bridge that gap, especially now that you're part of the, I think MIT's Dean of...
the Global Advisory.
The Global Advisory Council, thank you.
So, there are a couple of experiments that we're doing in HCL. I, of course, talked about investing in a lot of training, which, closes the gap between fresh engineers and what they need to do to deliver to customers all over the world. We're also doing something very interesting, which is we've got 8,000 fresh school graduates in the HCL system. And we've partnered with universities so that on the weekends they can pursue an undergraduate education. But Monday to Friday, these are 18-year-olds, they're digital natives. We got them from grade 12. We've got 50% women, young women, as part of this cohort. And after, 8 to 9 months of training, they're ready to deliver. So it's also looking at alternate talent pools. And, as you go forward in the world, you're going to realize that there are more people who don't pursue higher education than those who actually do, because higher education is becoming prohibitively expensive. So how do we actually tap into different talent pools? And so I think that's quite unique to HCL Tech.
Speaking of talent, I think women account for less than 30% of your workforce, like you said, 220,000. How do you better that? How do you take the number further? And is that a priority for you?
So at the entry level, we still have about 35 to 40 to 45% women that are coming in. But as they rise in an organization, I think there are certain inflection points at which they tend to drop out of the workplace. So I think one is, of course, an investment in culture and providing opportunities for leadership. But the other is, again, like I said, with our tech bees, looking at alternate talent pools. I mean, just to tell you, our 8,000 tech bees are 40 to 50% women, and our attrition is in lower single digits. So there are those many more, women who are sticking on.
We know that you've just tied up with WEF for an initiative to do with water. What's behind that, and what do you hope to achieve with that?
So, I come from India. I live in Delhi, and over the past couple of years, and maybe even longer, not just in India, but the rest of the world, I don't think that, we can really address the climate crisis unless we don't address the freshwater crisis. 96% of Earth's water is actually ocean. Only the balance is accessible for human consumption and for biodiversity and for nature, and I think only about 2% of that is what is actually accessible. The cycles of droughts are becoming longer. The cycles of floods and rains are becoming longer, and we know climate is all over the place. So I think that kind of provided an opportunity for us to think about freshwater as an initiative. So we've partnered with Uplink here at WEF, which is an open innovation platform, and we've committed 15 million to source innovators and entrepreneurs working on freshwater technologies from all over the world, and how can we actually source them, source their ideas, source their solutions, provide them grants. It's a 15 million over 5 years. We just today morning announced our first 10 recipients, but over 5 years, we'll have 50 aquapreneurs. So I think that could become quite a movement in freshwater. And how can we scale them all over the world? I mean, these aquapreneurs, we have young aquapreneurs from the US, we have from Argentina, from different parts of the world, actually.
On a personal note, you're an art collector. What is it about art that you love?
Well, I think in a lot of ways, modern and contemporary art of the last 150 years is a testament to where the world was in that point of time and someone's reflection. And at least in India, which is so rich in cultural history, we have to build more institutions, art institutions. So I think we've been collecting art over the last 25, 30 years. Our collection has grown to more than 12,000. And we're building India's largest private museum in Delhi. It's going to be called the Nadar Museum of Art, and we've chosen David Adjaye, who built the African Museum at the Smithsonian in DC, as our architect. It's his first project in India. So I hope it's going to be a landmark institution for many generations to come.
Is there a favorite art piece?
Is there a favorite?
In your collection?
There is. It's Manjeet Bawa, who's an Indian artist. He sadly passed away. It's an art piece that we had commissioned, and it's in the collection. So hopefully one day I'll get to show everyone.
What is it about the art piece that speaks to you?
When I was very young, it was in the late 80s, Manjeet had a studio in the mountains in the Himalayas, and my mother took me to his studio to discuss how she would like to commission this art piece. And I remember he had given me a chart paper and a pen and pencil, and he told me, why don't you copy one of my art pieces? So while I was this, 12-year-old sitting and copying, I could hear him having this conversation about how he was going to conceptualize this art piece. And it's from the Indian mythology. It's based on Lord Krishna, so it's quite special from a personal memory.
Do you see yourself playing a bigger role in the art scene in India or elsewhere?
I think the museum does. The museum currently exists in a temporary facility in India. It's about 11 years old. We've had a lot of shows at the Met Brewer. We've partnered with the Tate. We've partnered with MoMA. I don't know if just for the audience, in Manhattan at the moment, on the corner of Central Park and Friedman Plaza, there's a large sculpture of a woman in a sari, and it's by an Indian artist, Bharti Kher. It was commissioned by the New York Public Fund, but it belongs to the Kiranada Museum of Art. So it's going to be there till October 2023. So when you're just walking past Central Park, you can't miss it.